enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. On the face of all mankind, the numbers up and the dead for the time. Go along to get along hypnotized by the siren song. The flames are empty and the crypts are cracking open. The horde's upon you and you stand there frozen, waiting for the word. Stand in line and wait. Don't follow the strings to find out who is pulling. Just drink your poison, keep on laughing and drooling, eating your own flesh. The master always knows what's worldwide genocide. The overlords of hungry parasites. They point the finger and the eagles fly. Raining fire, children die. Starving plague, paralyzed. Pile of bodies rotten, covered in fire. But no one wants to talk about it. Strings no more bowing to the master. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground. I ain't backing down. Silver bullets in my pistol in my holster. My will is strengthened and my confidence is bolstered. Don't test my resolve. Don't test my resolve.
Everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Sunday, May the 28th, 2023. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by Tim and Dustin as you go down towards the drum there. Hey, we are coming to you live from Carter County, Tennessee, here at the Iron Mountain, and I would like to welcome you in for our 87th episode tonight. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and like, subscribe,
and do whatever this thing does.
Yeah, what is that, a bunch of nutshells together?
Yeah, it's nuts.
It says yoked.
It's a nut
But
stock.
I've only read that. I've never heard it pronounced. But yeah, it's so
Yeah.
supposed to go in together, but this is one of these.
I'm not
situations.
I'm not good with the percussions.
A cup nest.
A cup now. I would tell you the truth, I don't even know what kind of drum this is.
I don't either.
I don't know.
It looks like at least a mockery of one of those
Spiderweb
African tribal verb
Yeah.
drums.
Oh yeah.
I hope there's not a Black Widow in there.
Black Widow. No.
I was about to say it's dead because
Yeah. There's no food down
I had to vibrate it to pieces.
yeah.
He's been forgetting
What's up,
the
Dalton?
last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I did have a good weekend. Hey, Alvin. Sold more liquor and beer than you could fathom this weekend. Yeah, everybody. It is Memorial Day weekend, and for some reason, a lot of people will party. But maybe it's a lot of people who are missing their friends and stuff like that. It is important to remember that the memorial is, for the ones who lost, and really for their families and everybody else. So a lot of people go out and party and stuff without really thinking about it. But I know military families who have lost someone, they don't appreciate that, and they like people to take the time to give the day the reverence it deserves and recognize that they lost family members. There's people who lost their lives and lost all kinds of stuff. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm sure there is a lot of liquor bought, and so maybe I'm sure not everybody's partying. So sorry to put a damper on it there. Didn't mean to do that, guys.
I actually zoned out for a second, so it's all good. You could have a whole lot of pissed off people in the chat, and if that's the case, I say you should start saying gas the cliff.
Welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour, everybody. Nice to have you with us.
Mask.
Go over there to Rumble and check us out on there. I didn't put the link in the show this time, but it's really easy. Just go to rumble.com and you search for the Iron Mountain Hour and check us out there. We'd love to have you follow us at Rumble so we can get enough followers there to live stream on both platforms simultaneously. You need 100.
Oh, it's quite a bit lower.
I think YouTube and Rumble are both 100 for live streaming.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I guess gas the cliff is out of context. Viewers is pretty wild, but I'm not going to explain it. Let's keep going.
I agree. Yep. Alvin said, "What are we supposed to be doing in this chat?" Gassing the geese. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Yes, gassing the cliff today, I guess. Hello, Sean. Hey, man, is it all right if I show people the pictures of your house without showing the address? Because it looks really good and.
Without showing the address.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it listed, so I didn't figure he'd care, but I figure as long as we don't show the address, we'd be all right. You did such a good job on this house, Sean. Hey, Spill, what's up?
Unless somebody wants to move out to wherever that's at, then maybe you're just doing some real estate services.
Maybe.
Showing.
Yeah, he says go ahead. I figured you wouldn't care. I just wanted to get your permission first, because we got the email here a while back, a week or two ago. And hadn't heard from you since, so I wanted to make sure it was all right. Oh yeah, just if you guys are wondering on my email, we did a little bit about a herpes dating site on Wednesday, just in case you missed that show.
What?
Yeah.
I haven't made it that far now.
Well, you're gonna have to watch the show. Let's see.
Hence the look on my face.
Here's the house from Sean. And Sean's out in Aberdeen, Washington. He's moving to Tennessee. It's a big ass house, Sean.
Aberdeen.
3,894 square feet. It doesn't look that big from
The yard plottage.
from the road, but that's
2,600 square feet. That's a pretty good size.
is the yard bigger? Is the house bigger than the yard?
4 bedrooms. I don't know. It'd be hard to tell.
Oh, okay. It says 2,600 square feet. Okay, that may have been the yard was 3,900 square feet.
Hold on a second. The yard is 3,900 square feet.
Maybe looks
What
like
is that by the what at?
Now Sean just redid all this, getting it ready to sell because he's moving down to Fentress County. Look at this, man. Doesn't it look phenomenal?
It does.
If it wasn't in Washington, I'd totally buy this house. Did a good job painting it, and the shingles look great. Look at that view. It's nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Washington in and of itself, but just the voters of Washington. Nice little aerial view there. Yeah, so looks like that's about right? The plot of that land looks about twice the size of the house.
I suppose.
Yeah.
See, I'm an offensive person, Sean. I do a lot of things that people find disagreeable. So I need quite a bit more land than that. It's one of the reasons I could never live in a city.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my neighbors are kind of close, but they're far enough away to where, man, that kitchen looks badass, dude.
Yeah. It's a giant benefit to not having a lot of land because you don't have to mow it, and that's it. That is a pain.
Yeah.
But when you're obnoxious like Tim, you need a little bit of square footage to separate yourself from the neighbor's ears.
Yeah. Oh, you've been peeping your neighbors, Sean?
A little rear window action.
Yep. Pretty sweet, man. I'd say you'll sell it pretty quickly. He definitely.
Interesting style when you start looking at the way houses are built in other areas. It
Yeah.
almost reminds me of like the Goonies style house up in New England.
They're in. They're on the West Coast, aren't they? Goonies.
Are they?
Aren't they
Maybe,
in
maybe
Washington?
that's why it looks the same.
Aren't they in
Because of
Washington or
maybe, I don't know.
Oregon? Pretty sure they are.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's why it looks similar.
Yeah, we'll get into this in just a second. Yeah, so we were talking about beer on the last one, and I spent like 30 minutes talking about beer,
Oh, I
talking
made
about
it into
myself.
beer. I didn't get to the herpes cult, but I was there for the beer talk. I'm glad I left early.
Well, it so happened that when I was looking for these red light camera articles, I was looking for news about it. I gave an update because I was incorrect about a couple things. I'll go ahead and let y'all know, since just in case y'all didn't see it. The article that I first read, which was a site from Elizabethan.com, which is the city of Elizabethton's website, didn't mention anything about a city council meeting. It just said that the police said they were going to start using these, what you call it?
The
What do they call them? License plate reading cameras. Yeah. So I had said, well, it looks like they did it without having a city council meeting or anything, but they did in fact have a city council meeting, and they got the funding from the state of Tennessee's Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative Act or something like that. Is where Bill Lee gave like $100 million to different departments to hire more sheriff's department workers, more corrections workers, more highway troopers, highway patrolmen, and gave each jurisdiction so much money. And what they're apparently doing in a lot of them is putting in these red light or license plate reading cameras, because I did go on to find out from WBIR in Knoxville that there are over 1,000 of these. I can't remember now if it's over 1,000 cameras or over 1,000 cities. Yeah, it must be 1,000 cameras in Tennessee already set up, and they're by this Flock security company. And on the show where I talked about where these things, were being brought into Elizabeth, and I said I didn't know if they were the same security company that had already put the cameras in for license plate readers in Kingsport, and it turns out it is the same one. It's connected to over 2,000 cities in 42 states, so you are on their radar in a lot of places in the United States. So just wanted to catch you up on that. If you didn't see the episode where we talked about those, we've talked about it like 3 or 4 times already, so until there's something new, we won't go into any more on it, but I just figured I would let y'all know, since not a whole lot of people watched that episode compared to how many people were watching our Sunday shows. So anyway, I thought I had a pretty good little rant in the middle there. I got fired up about something. Yeah, Oregon, Sean says, in the Goonies.
Okay. Well, that's why I guess the build style's similar.
Yeah, 3,900 square feet was the yard, and Spiel said you did a nice job there, Sean. Dalton says he wants to move to West Virginia. Cheap, mountainous, and red. I thought it said malnutritionist. Mountainous and red. Yeah, it is actually. It was the reddest state in
Was
the
it?
2020. Yeah.
If I could recommend a spot, it would be Summersville.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It really is. I passed through there a couple of times this year, and they've got and I guess it's kind of new, but there's like a big bridge that goes across the Gulf, and it's one of the only spots in Appalachia that I think is prettier than the drive into Asheville.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that gets really striking because that's such a shit drive because of the traffic and stuff. You don't pay attention to it until but that's a really pretty drive, seeing all the trees on the way to Asheville and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Summerville's prettier.
If you've never driven through Asheville, for being such a small city, it has. It's really not that bad, but you just have to do a lot of circles and loops and.
Driving in Asheville.
Yeah, driving through it. Unless you're driving straight through, and even sometimes if you are driving, through
Most
it.
cities are a pain, though. I think the hills just make it a little bit worse.
Yeah, I think maybe that's it. But it's not really a big city. I mean, what, 250,000 people, something like that?
Is it bigger or smaller than Knoxville?
I don't know. I would say it's more people, but more spread out than Knoxville.
I'm going to say maybe smaller, but more compacted wealth. That's
Maybe 100,000 in the actual big city part. I don't know. Let's see. Let's check it out.
They shot the Hunger Games out of Asheville.
They did?
Yep.
You know what? 94,000. Okay, so I was going to say 100,000 in the city limits, baby.
Knoxville's quite a bit more. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's almost 200 in Knoxville. So yeah, just in case anybody was wondering. Whoops. That's not that one.
I went and saw a Kill Switch show at the Orange Peel, and Jesse Leach said, I'm going to call this place Little, what would you say? The place out in Little Austin. That's what he said. He said, I'm going to call this place Little Austin. I've never been to Austin, but it definitely does have a open hippie vibe.
It's got the hipster college town, hippie college town vibe.
Yeah.
I like Asheville though. I have fun there. Vibrant art scene and historic architecture. That's where the Biltmore Mansion is, and we was talking about movies being filmed. Of course, that's where the several movies, including the Hannibal, the sequel to Silence of the Lamb, was filmed.
You had to look. I can recognize the sound. Yeah, the Biltmore's got some. It's cool to visit, but then you start finding out about the weird history of it and all the weird people connected to it.
We went on a French club trip in high school, and a friend of mine and I, we jacked a bottle of wine, and she had had us a drink of wine and just hit out, and then like the fun quickly wore out when it's like, well, what do we do now? Because there's like
Look at the flowers.
yeah, well, no, I mean we were away from our group and stuff, and it's like now we had to sneak back to get with him without anybody noticing, and
And you're tipsy.
yeah, leave a bottle of wine laying there, but yeah, good times.
I've been wanting to kind of go back just when they have one of those weird kind of events, and also right now because the flower garden. I mean,
Yeah.
I like
Spring's good to go. Yeah.
and you know I enjoy flowers and taking pictures of flowers. So
Well, there's plenty of them there.
and the architecture's neat.
Yeah, for sure. Have y'all ever been over to the Exchange Place in Sullivan County? I've driven past it. I don't really know. I've driven past it a couple of times, and
Exchange.
it's in Kingsport.
I thought you was like generalizing with that.
No.
The exchange.
It's a
place.
living history farm, evidently from 1850.
Oh,
Okay.
they got little girls trapped there playing guitar.
Wow.
That's child slavery, isn't it?
I don't know.
Just like the old times.
She's trapped in
Guitar,
time.
baby.
Maybe it's like you could just,
My
pause.
fingers hurt, Pa. Play Wildwood Flowers.
I think time's maybe not passing for her. Is it like Westworld? Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
There was somebody who was tweeting at Elon Musk, and he was saying, we only want one thing, forget about SpaceX, forget about, Starlink, forget about all that. Make Westworld real. And Elon's like, it already is. It's like, so I think we pretty much are Westworld. We're creations of another beings to have fun with, don't you?
I actually can't kind of subscribe to that. You know what I think happened?
What?
Summed up in one sentence. You know how we put like dogs in hats and in suits, and we train them to pee in a certain spot, and we give them structure. I think something did that to us,
Yeah.
and now we're just going through the motions. We're just governing. We don't know why we're doing it, but we're just still doing it.
It's almost as if we were on one of like these little farms right here. Whoops. Where they let's move this over here. One of these little farms here where they show you a day in the life, and there's somebody guiding us through. Like they show you how to churn the butter, and then every day people come through. And they just show more and more people how to churn the butter. You like how to churn the butter? But it looks like
You get creamy, don't you?
oh yeah. Well, if you don't,
Sign up for
if you
OnlyFans.
don't, you don't want that butter.
Remember we made butter in like first grade. I can remember.
Yeah,
We had a race between the boys and the girls in the class.
I guarantee the boys won.
It was first grade. You didn't really know about that yet, but
Or you have the instinct.
yeah, okay, it's instinctual.
Let's see.
What was that place over near Piney Flats called that was similar to this? It was Rocky Mount.
Yeah, Rocky Mount. Yeah,
We made candles. Rip, booming, good time.
yeah, that's right. Actually,
At
that's
Rocky
fun.
Mount, they have like a. I think every year or so they have like an actual old school like sheep shearing event where
Hell yeah.
everyone's like clad in like 1800s attire, and they have like
Go get
looms.
that sheep.
and They make sheep naked.
I like stuff like that. You get to go help, or you just have to watch, or can you do
I don't
stuff
know. I
with
never
the
have
wool?
gotten to go because I always forget whenever it happens until it's too late.
I encourage you to go to the Woolly Worm Festival if they ever have it.
Yeah.
It's campy and funny.
That's fun.
And like, for example, they have, all throughout the day, they race woolly worms.
And where is that? I went when I was
Banner
in. Okay, I went when I was in like probably a freshman in high school or eighth grade or something like that. Yeah, I think that's right because there.
It's next
Irwin
to
had the
Wildwood,
Apple
wherever that's
Festival.
at.
Irwin had the Apple Festival in the fall, and
That's
then
right.
there was the
Banner
Woolly
Elk.
Worm Festival after that in Banner Elk. Yeah.
But I have a tradition. I've only been there a couple of years, especially the last time they had it pre-COVID was a big windstorm came and blew all the tents down and ruined everybody's fun. What you do you go and sign up for one of the woolly worm races. People take that nonsense seriously. Like the locals have all these tricks they've learned. Like there was this one guy there that had brought a coffee stirrer, and he'd figured it out. He even told me, he was like, I used to use a straw cut in half, now I use a coffee stirrer to control the velocity of the air. Because he blows air at the woolly worm's ass to make it crawl faster up the string, because you're not allowed to touch it. Mine didn't stand a chance. I named it Sisyphus, first of all, which just demoralized the poor little guy. I hung him on, because I was just thinking all the time, I was like, how many times this poor little guy raced, you know? But anyway, I stuck him on the string, and he just kind of like reclined, and, you know, beep, 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 just started taking his time, you know? But anyway, that kid was just blowing that woolly worm's ass, getting it up the string. It's fun.
Did you ever read that story about that Mark Twain story about the jumping frog of Carabas County or whatever? Yeah, it was basically a guy about a frog jumping contest. The guy was like, I can't remember, he's cheating and making the frog eat rocks or something, so the frog would be heavier or something like that. But it was a fun story. I like all those short Mark Twain stories. They're a lot of fun. Let's get into the main topic. I've heard of.
I love you named it Sisyphus.
Oh, let me check out.
It's like you're like dragging that fucking weight, man.
Yeah. Running up that hill.
Let's catch up the chat here before we get into the main topic. Spill says she daydreams of living in a small coastal town in, Mountain Dew, man, Southern California, but it's too spendy and populated there because of great weather, so it'll remain a daydream. Yeah. Well, Southern California would, except for the people there, would probably be a really nice place, but a place like that I wouldn't want to go when it was really crowded at all, even if it was cheaper. You know, that's not something I could necessarily enjoy.
California?
Well, Southern California, like near the Los Angeles area and that kind of stuff.
I've been once.
San Diego.
I don't know if we went to San Diego. We went to L.A. and La Jolla, which was like just the rich part. And we did all the touristy stuff, so I don't have any cool stories.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really
what
pretty,
else to
though. I
do,
get
though?
why people want to move there in mass. It's gorgeous. I will say, as far as big cities go, it's actually one of my least hated because I really don't like skyscrapers.
Yeah.
It blocks the sky. You can't see it.
Yeah,
There's just not skyscrapers in LA, so I do like that.
I like skyscrapers when I go to a big city. It's like my favorite part of going to a big city is
It gets
checking out the skyscrapers.
overwhelming on a certain level. Like, I don't mind Charlotte because you can kind of see them there, you know. And but like New York, it's just too much. Like,
They're all skyscrapers.
Yeah, you get in there. There's
Manhattan and
parts
stuff.
of New York you cannot see the sky unless you
Yeah.
look completely vertical, and that's just
I don't like that.
no.
Honest
It's just
to God.
I don't mean to take too big a dump on New York. I'm just saying it really is awful. It's just a horrible place.
It's all right, Tim. It's taking a big enough dump on itself.
Yeah,
that,
it's a amusement
there's-
park with no rides except for the one that's putting its citizens on.
And only Eric Adams
Oh,
has the fun. Now, let's see. Spill says, Dustin, you're an interesting chap. And the Monterey Santa Barbara area is nice. Dalton says, I have a neighbor who looks like a chunkier version of Tim.
Awesome.
A human farm, like an ant farm. That's right, Tim. Tim's talking about where we were, somebody else's pet. Yeah, I think so. An experiment on it. Dalton was talking, he likes woolly worm racing. And Spill says she thinks we all have a doppelganger in more places than we think. I ran into a girl that looked like me, but was a tiny bit bigger. We were looking at each other.
I
And
ran
it's
up
still
against
hours from
myself
LA. The
going
city is
down
not
the
for me.
street Before in Gatlinburg, it's like, hey,
Dude, I ran into myself in
It's
Gatlinburg.
it's kind of creepy. It's just like, is this like, there's some sort of glitch going on?
There was I was standing down there with a friend of mine in Gatlinburg, and we were just standing outside of our motel, and we were waiting on other people who were coming down to meet up with us, and we were standing there talking, and this guy walks up, and he just like asked my friend, he's like, yo, you know where to get some weed, man? You got any weed? My friend's like, no. He's like, just watched him turn around and walk away, and he's like, what the hell's this guy thinking? He goes, I don't know this guy. And we turned around and he says, holy shit, look across the street. And I looked across the street, and he's like, there's a guy that looked exactly like me standing over there looking at me. And I didn't notice him, but my friend told me, he's like, holy shit. But it looks like a mirror image of you standing across the street.
Probably that's funny.
Or I was actually Pigeon Forge, but
There's weed in Pigeon
thing.
Forge.
no, somebody was asking my friend if he had any that he would sell them. Just walked right up to him, like,
That's interesting. I've never even.
I mean, we were standing outside of the car just talking. I don't see why they would thought we looked
It's
like a good
that
person to
Steve
try.
Buscemi. It's like, hello, fella, ganja head. Do you
Yeah.
have any smoking
Yeah, kinda.
paraphernalia?
Yeah. The city's not for you, Spill. No, I like to go in for a day or two at a time, and then I'm done. I don't
I
want
can
to.
appreciate city. I just I do have different feelings about it. They're not all created equal,
No.
and New York is one of the ones I just
Like Atlanta, I could hang out in a couple days. You know, but something like Miami.
Atlanta's not self-loathing though. Like if you try to shit talk Atlanta's people and like for example Memphis.
Yeah.
Memphis has a rule, and I figured this out not by doing it, but by witness. Like Memphis will shit talk itself, but you're not allowed to shit talk Memphis unless you're from there. Like it's like they're self-aware that they have a lot of ridiculous crap, like a high crime rate. They're well aware they have a Bass Pro Shop and a giant Egyptian pyramid. They're aware there's a lot of ridiculous crap, but the city still takes itself seriously enough where it doesn't want to be self-loathing. And man, you go to New York, it's all everybody says, man, don't ever move here. This is the worst place you could ever live, but I love it here, man. It's like you all have PTSD. You need to leave.
Stockholm syndrome.
All of them, yeah. Every single person there says that. All 12 of them that I talked to. So that equates to the whole city.
Judge Joe Brown's running for the mayor of Memphis.
Okay.
The TV personality.
I don't know about Jet.
He's actually
Wasn't it?
I like listening to him.
Alright.
I've seen him interviewed on a few podcasts, or heard him interviewed on a few podcasts, and I like listening
Is
to
he gonna
him.
have any skeletons come out?
I don't know. He's a pretty smart guy. He's pretty open about everything. He used to chase girls and party and stuff like that, but nothing crazy. But his platform is basically he wants to turn Memphis into basically the hub of industry of the Midwest, and it's right there on the Mississippi River. So he's like, why are we not making hydroelectric power all up and down the bank of the Mississippi River and using that to power, making Memphis the hub of the middle of America for transport, manufacturing, and industry, and that's what he wants to do. And
I had a dream, and I'll only say this once. Keep in mind, I was raised in kind of a funky church.
Yeah.
That if you had a dream, they took that seriously. They'd sit there and try to translate it and predict it. So
And by kinda, he means really.
I mean, they really will. Yeah, they would like, oh, you had a dream about what? They'd try to start trying to pick your dreams apart because they thought it's prophecy. So if you had a dream, you just didn't say anything unless it was like Ronald McDonald. You could tell a dream like that. I had a dream once when I pre-high school that the end of times took place in Tennessee. And that the new Sodom and Gomorrah was Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia, and all of the battle of Gog and Magog and all that stuff took place in Knoxville, and all kinds of craziness.
probably gonna happen in Bristol.
Oh no, yeah. So anyway, I just think that's interesting because even when I was a kid, I was like, "Why in the hell?" I thought there's no way that would be prophecy. That's stupid. There's nobody here. We're in the middle of everybody. Everybody thinks we're hillbillies. There's nobody that lives here. There's no industry. There's nothing. Fast forward now that we're adults, and now there's quite a bit here. So there you go.
Well, there's remember when the casino was being talked about, I came on the show and I said I really don't think it'll happen because there's like gaming boards and
thought it would.
Stuff like this that and my whole thing was, how are they going to? Are they just going to let casinos pop up everywhere because Bristol wants to have one? They're just going to let them have it? The people, the
Nope,
state like gaming
exactly.
board and all that. Well, there's all kinds of them though. There's casinos popping up everywhere. Like you can drive like 2 hours. I mean, pretty much anywhere around here, you can drive 2 hours and get to a casino somewhere or another. So it's like they really are just. I mean, what's he going to do? The whole town going to be casinos? I mean, everybody's just going to be gambling. Is anybody going to actually be working or? Just the people working at the casinos? I don't know. To have a few casinos here and there, a few casino towns across the country makes sense. But just to have, pretty much anywhere where you can go and get a casino, then the casino makes money by people coming in and losing their money. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a casino everywhere around you, why are you going to travel to lose your money? You'll go to the casino closest to you.
Depends on which one it is. I mean,
for the most part, people still go to Vegas and stuff, even though they can go to Cherokee. But,
Well, my issue with that is Cherokee sucks.
But people still go there and lose a lot of money.
It just really sucks. The Vegas has a monopoly on it because Vegas is, in my opinion, the best city on the planet. It just is because it says exactly right on the thing. You might get fucked up while you're here, but you're having a good time. And I think that's honest. It's right on the nose. That it's just honest. But if you just don't like gambling and you don't like half-naked sexy people and you don't like shows and you don't like reasonably priced, decent
Buffet
food,
dinners.
buffets, and you can actually just leave the city and see really cool desert. You can see, you can be the Grand Canyon within hours. You can go to, it's great out there. Meanwhile, Cherokee,
Go check out the nuclear testing sites.
yeah, very easy to find all those things. Vegas is really entertaining, not just for Vegas. I like all the shit around Vegas.
Pretty close to
man,
Roswell.
yeah, it is. You go to Cherokee though. They've got the casino, and once you're done with it, you just walk outside, and all you've got is like a McDonald's and sadness.
Yeah.
Because all of that, like once upon a time, like you'd go there as a kid, and you'd go see the people doing the dances, and even though like that wasn't like super high paying work, you could tell those native guys are like, yes, this is my culture, and it's really they cared that they got to do the little rain dance and stuff, and they like the fact that the little white kid wanted to buy their tomahawk. And now that guy's out there dancing for nobody because everybody's inside the casino. It's just really, Cherokee's sad to me. I just don't like going there.
And then you've got Bristol opening up as like, being music town, the birthplace of country music, and it's really booming and, expanding as far as that goes. It's making a name for itself. It's having festivals. It's, having
They're gonna have
recordings
more than
done
one
there.
casino,
You've got,
too.
yeah, you're looking at the casino, the Hard Rock Casino. They're moving in lots of stuff into Bristol, and you can tell we've been talking about how our surrounding
race.
area, like the racetrack.
They're starting to put concerts in that. They had, what was the big rock concert they were having there? They had Burt Kreischer and a bunch of comedians there. I know that's not
Jefferson
big.
Starship.
That probably sold out,
No, I'm just
though.
kidding.
Somebody said he was trying to book Kid Rock there. I think that would be funny.
That would
sell out.
Yeah, Kid Rock would sell out
That
the
would sell
Bristol
out,
Motor
yeah.
Speedway. I would back guarantee.
Yeah, Bristol's bumping.
What
though.
is it?
It's very interesting to see.
150,000 crowd or something like that? It's huge. It's over 100,000
Is it?
in the states. Let's see real quick what it is. Let's see, Bristol.
Motor Speed Wigan. Yeah, it's just interesting to see.
153,000. Holy
Wow.
crap!
Does that count the floor seats?
I don't know. It's just capacity is all I know.
Grandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a concert. There would be,
Oh, they don't
a
count the floor
lawn.
seats, yeah.
Yeah.
There would be floor seats down there, yeah.
So you could probably put
Hey, extras,
another
get up on top of the wall.
another couple
Say up
dozen
there.
thousand in there.
Slide off the turn.
They sell shares that
Put
tilt
slip and
back.
slides on it.
You're like, I'm gonna sit in the top of the bank and turn through.
Y'all ever, I know we don't have to go off on this, but just out of curiosity, you ever all looked into the history of the Altamont Festival with the Rolling Stones?
No.
Long story short, it's a very interesting thing. It's considered, if you look at journalism, the death of the 60s. Because what happened was the East Coast had Woodstock, and it was phenomenal. So very shortly after they realized it was super successful, the West Coast wanted to have a Woodstock also. But they didn't go about it wrong because Woodstock had all this, semi-organic stuff sort of happening. And it wasn't as great as people said it was. But long story short, hundreds of thousands of people didn't die. That was the whole point. Wanted to have a Woodstock-style concert on the West Coast. Lots of things went wrong, including poor venue. They used a racetrack, and it just wasn't suited for it. The Rolling Stones had a stage that was probably as high as this table, judging by the photographs. They tried to hire motorcycle gang members to be security,
Oh, yeah,
who
I've heard that.
kind of started knifing
The
people
Hells
in the front
Angels
row.
were running security, yeah.
Yeah, so it really wasn't a good scene, and that's considered the death of the 60s was
Okay.
the Altamont Festival.
I
So
didn't know that was the name of
There's
it.
a documentary about it.
Yeah.
I think it's,
I think I've seen that. I just didn't remember that being the name
I don't
of
remember
it.
the name of the documentary, but it's documented.
Well, you want to go into some old school conspiracy? Well, not old school, but old school internet conspiracy lore, like 10-year-old stuff that
Sure.
from when people made websites that look like this. Remember these days? WordPress sites and stuff, or WordPress blogspot sites. Well, we're gonna go.
Ads for enlarging your dick popping.
Yeah. Now this guy paid to put his website up,
there you
and so he's not making any money. He's paying to put this website up. But we're gonna look at Project Looking Glass. Y'all ever heard of this?
Remove the virus that you now have. You have 10 seconds left. Project Looking Glass, yes.
Okay, so Project Looking Glass. If you search on it, you'll find a lot of articles, but they all seem to be basically referencing all the articles that are in this one. So this one is a kind of a compilation of everything else that I could find on Project Looking Glass, and I've shared it in the description if you're so interested in checking it out. And you can also search Project Looking Glass, but like I said, this one kind of has. There's only so much information out there, and this was everything I could find on it all in one place. I didn't.
That was a big part of the Q conspiracy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how big it was, but it was definitely part of it. Yeah, it was. The idea was that the letter that shall not be named was a military intelligence team that had access to this technology, and that they knew how it was all going to turn out, and that was how they could make these drops that were, corresponding with certain times. And I will say, that was some curious stuff. Some of these guys went a little bit crazy, kind of off the deep end, kind of trying to decode all this and saying, what day it is, and this is the day that. But there were some really uncanny. If it was coincidences, it's very uncanny where they were, they would have something income in one of those drops, and then a few hours later, like Trump would say something to do with it, and it's like a weird selection of words, and so it looked at first like there was somebody connected to Trump involved with the project there, and many people had said that maybe at some point that it got taken over by bad actors, or that it was all, it was a bad actor embedded in that team all along, or who knows. But one of the things that they did say was that they had access to this Project Looking Glass technology, and that was how they were able to plan these posts out and these drops to where all the, gematria in the posts matched all this whole big old. I don't even want to talk too much about it because YouTube, throws people's channels just for even.
On Looking Glass?
No, on that letter that shall not be named.
Well, you can refer to. There's a movie to kind of describe the way I understand how.
One after the P.
Yeah. There's a movie with Ben Affleck and Uma Thurman that is kind of loosely. I think it's called Next. I don't remember exactly what the name of the movie is.
Paycheck?
Paycheck might be it. Yeah, where he just gets hired to improve technology, and then they pay him to forget too, so he can't remember how the patent works. Anyway. There's some kind of technology where they bend space and time, and they can see the future by bending it so far or something like that. And allegedly, according to totally not fake documents, this is a real technology, and that's what they used in the old droppers community to see the future.
I think there's probably several Project Looking Glass. There are movies in Project Looking Glass, and I couldn't think of any of them off the hand, but Paycheck is one of them. This is talking about in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that apparently there's a Project Looking Glass, and
Could be because they stole it though.
it was a machine that could create matter and generate living matter. It was a project spearheaded to use knowledge from Darkhold and draws quantum power from the dark dimension and converts it into organic tissue. So that's different than our Project Looking Glass.
That seems like more like a parasitism, the way they were doing on Full Metal Alchemist. Don't want. Spoiler alert! Cover your ears for a second. Why? Spoiler the ending of Full Metal Alchemist, where it reveals that their alchemy power only came because humans were dying in the alternate realities. Like our death fueled their ability to even do that stuff. And it was kind of like because he finally realized, oh no, like the whole transition of equivalent exchange, we can transcend this law using alchemy. It's like, no, there's a whole other dimension where people are suffering, and you're just drawing off of it. So
yeah, if we look, remember the story of Alice in Wonderland. This is probably what Project Looking Glass is named after. Is the sequel to Alice in Wonderland. That's by Lewis Carroll, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Saw There, or something like that. Yeah,
right.
Through What Alice Found There. And it was the sequel to, and there was a whole bunch of weird stuff with this guy, right? With the real Alice being, I don't even want to get into much. It's some weird stuff going there on. But anyway, this story was said to be part of the Project Monarch programming, and MK Ultra programming, where they would use the Alice in Wonderland. Basically, they would read it as they hypnotized these people, or have them watch the movie as they were hypnotized, and use things in the movie that basically the movies were designed to be used by handlers who were hypnotizing kids as part of the Monarch program, and they would say they got the Alice in Wonderland programming, or they could get the Fantasia programming.
Catcher in the Rye, according to conspiracy theory.
yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah. So that's what what's his name? Who was it that shot? Was it the guy that shot RFK that had it?
I don't remember.
Who had the Catcher in the Rye? What assassin had Catcher in the Rye? That's the one that got shot John Lennon, wasn't it?
Maybe. In the movie, the purpose of that was they gave him a compulsion to buy the book so they could always kind of find out where he was located. That was kind of a fail-safe to locate him.
Mark David Chapman, yeah, he was killed John Lennon, and he had the Catcher in the Rye, and he actually wanted to change his name to Holden Caulfield, who was the main character in that book. In Through the Looking Glass, Alice comes back in some versions she goes through the mirror, and other versions she goes through just a window. But in the book she goes through the mirror and goes into another room. And I remember seeing that as a kid, and I'd seen the regular Alice in Wonderland a few times, but then I caught that Through the Looking Glass, some version of it on the afternoon on a Saturday, and it was like so creepy compared to other kids movies, and I just thought it was so cool. And then I never knew that was the name of it, because when I was that age there was no like even channel guides or anything. You just either knew what was on the TV or you didn't. Sometimes they would say, but
the TV guide.
yeah, I didn't have a TV guide. We were too bougie.
Magic book that
Too
bougie.
mail that told you what was coming on the TV.
You know how bad that I don't know if you guys had this app, but they had me for a couple of shows. One of them I've still not found. There's a White Whale anime I've still not found to this day. Maybe I can describe it and y'all can tell me what it is. There was a couple of cartoons. Sorry. It's a couple of cartoons that I saw as a kid that I literally didn't know the name of until I had access to the internet. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to describe it, like with Ask Jeeves movie that had this going on. But one of them was Unico. One of them was the Fluppies, which is a bunch of poodle-looking dogs. I know. I saw these things when I was like 4, and they stuck in my brain like a cancer until I was like 17, and finally went, doink, I can Google this. But Google didn't exist at the time. One of them that I just found out the other day, and I've already forgotten the name of it again. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry. That's the way it works.
Back to you. Well, let's get into
Fluppies.
Fluffy dogs, yeah, I tell you, they look like kind of like Care Bears, but they're poodles instead.
I remember the pound.
And that thing stuck in my head forever. And I finally, they're all multicolored. They look. It turns out it was 1991 was when it came out, and it didn't have a lot of success.
Fluffy dogs.
There you go. I'm pretty sure it's 91. Maybe I'm wrong about that. No, 86.
86.
Yeah, but it didn't take off.
No, I don't remember those.
Yeah, but I remembered it. It stuck in my brain
It had
forever.
a 1-hour animated special, and it was intended to be a pilot.
Yeah. Turns out there's an avid community of people that jerk off to these things too.
Ugh.
Why wouldn't there be?
Why wouldn't there be?
Why wouldn't?
Interdimensional doorway as a fluffy dog. Okay. All right. Well,
Look up
it was
Unico.
intended to be a pilot for the, but it was canceled. Nobody watched the special, and so
Yeah.
they didn't even.
Oh, I did.
It was only a 1-hour show.
I watched it real late at night because I didn't sleep.
You were one of the only ones.
Yeah, I was one of the only ones that had that and playing the Sega Master System at the same time.
I'll be damned. All right. Well, Project Looking Glass. Let's look there. Amazing Polly did the. Let's see when. Oh, we missed a whole bunch here. I gotta go way back here. That's why you liked it, Tim, said Spill. That's why you liked it, Tim, said
Why?
Spill.
Because it's cartoon dogs? You don't know my kink! I'll be open one day. Literally.
Alvin says, well, at least it wasn't Bluff City in your dream. Yeah, that's right. Perception is a real thing, Dalton. I'm glad you're maturing here with us, says Spill. And right, Alvin. Dalton says, that being said, I do want to live somewhere else someday, but it's because you only live once and I want to experience something different. That's a good way to look at it. Spill says some areas have a vibe of oppression on it. Maybe it's a collective attitude or old stagnant energies. Yeah, maybe so. We'll talk about a little bit of old stagnant energy a little bit later tonight. I hope you see everything you want to see and do, says Spill. Heard they were taking the cheap way out, Tim. Spill heard they were taking the cheap way out.
Who?
Whatever you're talking about.
I think that's something to do
with
with Cherokee.
yeah, Cherokee and the place going
Oh,
down the
yeah,
shooting.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind casinos. It's just
Let's see.
there's nothing about it. There's nothing in that casino. Last time I went, that even looked Cherokee. And I know this sounds stupid. Maybe I'm just sappy or whatever. But if you go to like places out in Colorado and New Mexico, even like the Hardee's looks like it's from New Mexico. There's like the history of the Navajo people on the side of the wall, and the fact that they're not really Navajo, they're Diné. And then yet you go to the Cherokee Casino, and there's nothing in there that would even remotely remind you that you're even in a Native American reservation. And I think that speaks to itself. They're not proud of that. They're just wanted the money that came with it. And I think that maybe they should, I don't know, own it a little bit better. It's just, I don't have anything against the town itself. People keep going there if you enjoy it, find their way of life or whatever. It just has a feeling of sadness about it.
I just think to me it's crazy to have a whole lot of towns that depend on a casino for,
No, I agree.
for income.
I'm not saying
And
it's
not
a
close
good
close
thing.
to each other, especially like I said, a few of them here and there spread out where but just having a whole bunch of them seems bad for all of them.
Speaking, maybe it's because they got exiled off their land. I mean, we're talking about the Cherokee people who originally lived here.
Yeah.
The Cherokee Indian Reservation was literally in Carter County, right where we're at right now. It was that's why you can't dig up land without hitting arrowheads and stuff. But when they decided to flood everything, they moved the reservation to North Carolina.
Alvin said, are we talking about that old statistical technique known as queuing theory? Amazing Polly did a good video on it before her channel was removed, said Spill. Yeah, a lot of the people, the letter that shall not be named, I imagine, right down the rabbit hole, she says, and Alvin says, follow the white rabbit. Alvin says, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, Snow White, and Cinderella were most often used. Krabby Appleton, Tom Terrific, and Manfred the Wonder Dog. And Spill says, should have said Woodstock. Res in general are sad and usually a poor community. Well, let's look at Project Looking Glass, and we'll go through a few things on it. I'm going to just read for a minute, so y'all bear with me, and we'll all read it together, but I think it's kind of important to get kind of the overview here. So
I'm going to say the word super chicken. Bark, bark, bark. Get that out of my system.
There you go.
Just bought you a good amount of time.
All right, this is from ParadigmShift.com. Project Looking Glass and the plans of the secret government on time machines and Stargate devices. This is from 2021. And Project Paradigm Shift 13 begins. I initially became aware of the project via David Wilcock in his presentation in 2012 Enigma. In the video, Wilcock discusses how the Looking Glass apparently resembles what is depicted in the film Contact, starring Jodie Foster. Since that time, I've seen a huge number of subtle disclosures within movies, TVs, and even video games using similar symbolic elements to suggest time manipulation is being researched seriously. Wilcock, per insiders, says he's been in contact with, claims that the device works much like the pineal gland in the human body, which is able to recreate a highly coherent energy vortex of torsion field under certain conditions, allowing an individual to receive information by non-physical means. So, this is a device that apparently allows an individual to see forward, backwards, anywhere in time. It sounds like it's a chair with, and I could read the whole thing, but that kind of seems a little boring there. But it's basically a chair that has a couple of magnetic rings that spin around it, kind of like a gyroscope going around the chair, creating a certain current. And then there's some sort of gas that is put in within this current. And this actually interfaces with the user's own mind and is controlled. You could call it telepathy or whatever, but all the user has to do is think of, and it requires a certain. Apparently, not just anybody can use it. You have to actually be a trained mind to be able to operate the Looking Glass, or you could just be, somebody who just has a knack for it, I guess. Who
You have to have what Stephen King would refer
you have to shine. Yeah.
Did you know that was another? I found one more movie other than that movie, Doctor Sleep. Because there's a couple of his movies that have that thing where the person's special. I forgot that not Langoliers, friggin' Tommy Knockers. Mm-hmm. Because I forgot as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, you meant machine where they shove the rods in their temples at the end, and he can make the alien head blow up by thinking about it. Wouldn't that be similar?
It would, yeah, and
It was just a seat.
and that's a running theme in a lot of Stephen King movies too. So
That certain people have something.
yeah, and I mean just
Something.
an innate ability to shine. And he describes it in The Shining, in the novel, and even in both versions of the movie that I've seen. He has the character that Danny meets at the hotel. I can't remember his name. He's the caretaker up there. He's leaving and he explains to him what The Shining is. And then there's this. I can't remember either.
I'm not remembering. Keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, it recurs in Hearts in Atlantis, Insomnia, several of his books, and so the Dark Tower is almost like a description of a physical version of the Looking Glass, because through the Dark Tower one can travel to any of those nexus points or whatever. And Dark Tower is a good way to look at it, because basically in it's like a whole world is held together by one tower in the middle, and then there are nexus points where these beams of energy connect to basically project reality onto the rest of the universe. So this one world, Midworld, that has the Dark Tower and all these beam generators basically is where all the other realities come from. And apparently if one of them is damaged, then all the other realities get damaged. But it also has the ability for people to go and sit in certain places, certain devices, and use them to be able to look throughout, time, space, whatever, and the different gates to travel through there. And this is supposed to be part of the Stargate program, which was also part of part of the Stargate program was the gifted programs that they were running in the schools in the 1980s and 90s, where they were, in my opinion, they were searching for people who had the ability to remote view. And now in the groups that I was in, we did exercises where we do stories with holes, right? We were told to imagine a scenario. I'll give you a description of a person walking through town, and you're given a description of the town, and you're supposed to visualize this town, right? And then an event takes place, and it doesn't make sense with the given information. And so you're supposed to try to think of what information would make that story make sense. Now, the quick example of it would be a man walking across the street, and he sees two headlights coming towards him. He cowers in fear. He knows he's about to be run down. But then the headlights just pass, and he sees the taillights go off in the distance, and he's unharmed. They did not swerve. He did not move. Their path, remained locked until the headlights passed. And then the thing that you do that completes the story is the man was run down by two motorcycles that went around him. They went on either side of him, so he thought he was dead because he was a car, but it's actually two motorcycles, so he's fine.
No, the Volkswagen Beetle for Candy Cane. Which was actually two motorcycles. Never mind.
But when you're given this scene, you're given a lot of information to visualize, and the teacher in our class, for example, gave us a lot of stuff to visualize and stressed how important it was to imagine the scene when you're trying to figure this out. And so I can only imagine that along with we did chess and bridge playing, both. Bridge being a game where you're supposed to be communicating with partner across the table by your bids. That's the only communication you can use. But, you're playing a team game. So if you had some sort of, brain connection, telepathic connection, whatever you want to call it, you would excel at playing that team game. So I can only imagine that these things right here were, and chess would be another one, because chess, a big part of chess is trying to look several moves ahead and trying to coax your opponent into making a move that you can take advantage of in the future, trying to set them up where they don't know what you're doing and have them play right into your hand. And so these are all games that would be useful to someone who was doing a Stargate program, including, using something like Project Looking Glass, if they were looking for people who were inclined to control these devices or be able to, interface with them well. Perhaps that was something that they were looking for in these programs. There were these. They ran these programs all over the country, and they all had different names and different different things they were working on too. So I was watching Sam Tripoli, and quite frankly, both have done a few shows on this recently. So and actually, I didn't even realize that that maybe, I don't know for sure, but I'm just assuming that the one I was in was a part of this. It sure sounds like it was, but I didn't know this was the thing. until I caught it on Quite Frankly's show where he was going into it, and he had a lot of people saying, "Oh, wait a minute, I was in one of those," and I'll be damned if you're not right. They were, you know.
I just remember they gave us free lifesavers.
Who did?
The guy doing this stuff. I don't know.
The guy did the test.
Yeah, I never did it. I did the. Anytime that there's something came up where it was like, "Hey, you want to do this extra thing for school?" My parents were like, "Nope."
Yeah.
So, which I was okay with most of the time because I didn't want to do any extracurricular activity whatsoever. Played basketball in Little League and stuff, but I didn't do any of that other stuff. But I do remember being given a pack of lifesavers by one of the dudes. So.
The part of this program
Gummies.
was trying to remote view. And so folks who were able to remote view, which is somebody being able to view something in another location from where they are.
Tracking device in it. I ate a tracking device. They knew that. They knew my parents were not going to sign off on no gifted program. It probably wasn't gifted. What if it was like the dummy program and I misremember it? It was like, you actually sucked at math pretty bad around this.
We were just trying to make you feel better.
No, I'm just misremembering to feel better about myself. What? I can't remote view. I just sucked at math.
You're just Peggy Hilling the heck out of it.
Oh.
Well, the ability to remote view was basically being farmed out as part of the Project Stargate. And the DoD had a well-funded secret program aimed at developing psychics. And the Stargate program was if you ever saw the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats,
yes,
it was based on that program loosely, but they go back to like one of the examples of remote viewing is back in I think it was the early 80s or late 70s, I can't remember which one, but they remote viewers supposedly saw the rings around Jupiter before we ever saw them with anything, and then when Pioneer went by, they actually did view the ring.
Ooh, wouldn't that explain the African tribe, the Dew people that know about the solar system? What if they were able to do that?
Perhaps.
What is that tribe? You
The
mentioned
Dogon?
Dogon, yeah, there you go. I think Spill the Tea mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Maybe that's how they were able to see the solar system.
Yeah, there were tribes that knew the. Hey, Timothy Campbell, Contact is a classic. That was the interesting one. I've tried to watch it a couple times. It's one of those that it's got Jodie Foster and she's able to. She's working on it.
It's got the tentacle creatures, right? Am I wrong about that?
No, that's a newer film.
This one, she's working in an observatory and she finds a signal coming through and finds a way to basically travel through a wormhole to reach where this other place is. And it's kind of a slow, pensive, kind of psychological movie. It's kind of long. And both times I've tried to watch it, it's been late at night and I've fallen asleep. But I need to catch the end of it.
The film you're talking about.
Thanks for joining us, Timothy.
I enjoyed that film and I can't think of the name of it.
Let's see. Nothing. Alvin said nobody can stop what is coming. That letter guy. Navy has a couple of patents on that technology. That's true. It does. Did you ever see those old school movies like the Philadelphia Experiment and all that stuff? You want to talk about OG technology or conspiracy? That's too big a one to get into, but it's related to this one tonight. So we're gonna let's do that next week. Let's do the Philadelphia Experiment next week.
I don't want to talk about gay people. I'm fine.
In the streets of Philadelphia.
Oh, Phil. I've been there once, I think. Is that the one that has all the patriotic stuff?
It's one it is.
Yeah, that's
And
the
the
one that feels like
Liberty Bell
Gotham.
and-
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a creepy city if I'm being
you said
honest.
you've been there because you're like, for the town that has a cheesesteak named after it, you said they all suck.
Whoa, yeah. That's what I said. Well, let me be honest. When you do the whole thing, what is it, something in Geno's, whatever it is, it's like the touristy thing where one uses the provolone and one uses the melty cheese or whatever. It's just a tourist trap.
I like the cheese whiz though.
They're both bad. There's like 600 places to get a cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Just stay away from the touristy ones. Find a mom and pop. And then
You get the one that the people who live there eat. That's what Tim's saying.
Yeah.
There used to be a guy who made those in Philly and moved down here and opened a place called Philly's. It was freaking banging. Nobody ate there.
Well, now
it was
you
like
can go
20 years ago.
Fat Daddy's in Bristol. That guy makes some big fat ones. The actual sandwich.
That's the place I was trying to find.
Yeah.
They make really big ass.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the place. I
It's
was
called
like,
Fat Daddy's.
I had a brain
And if you're in the Big Eddie's, the Blue Circle bought their stuff since the restaurant closed down. The Big Eddie subs, they make those now. Shit, where were we at? Probably doesn't matter, does it?
Well, if you're over at the y'all ever,
That's what we're.
Oh, according to people I talked to in Philly, and according to the comedian's Cal Kinane's special, I think it was I Like These Old Stuff Better. They reveal to you that most Philadelphia people don't really eat the Philly cheesesteak. It's like kind of like the deep dish pizza in Chicago. Chicagoans don't eat Chicago style. That's like kind of like a holiday tradition thing when grandma comes in or whatever.
it's kind of like lasagna.
Yeah, well,
Italians only eat lasagna for like Christmas dinner and stuff. They don't just be eating lasagna and big fancy pastas all the time. They mostly eat like fish and soup.
yeah. Actually, we went to. I used to hate talking about traveling, but like we don't have any kids, so and Ashley really likes to travel. But people always think it's like a humble brag or something. But it's like, no, it's like I went to see some places and it's really weird and I'm mouthy, so I have to talk about crap. But like, I'm hungry. I was hungry the whole time I was in Italy because they just eat fucking bread. It's the weirdest thing. Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. Like here's a plate. Like, they can serve you 7 courses. And the first night we was there, they really did because we stayed at this little hotel that just had a dinner going on. And it's just bread after bread after bread. And I'm just like, I'm so hungry. Why do you keep serving me bread and pasta with different sauces on it? I don't know. Dude, I really don't know how some of these other countries make it because it's like, you just eat this all the time. How do you not starve to death? Italy's on a hill. The whole fucking country's on the side of a hill. I'm not even kidding. You visit Italy, you would be walking, unless it's like fucking, what is it, Venice, it's going underwater or whatever. Most, 90% of Italy, you're going to be walking uphill for an entire week. You're going to lose so much weight because you're just eating pasta.
You're going to have badass calves.
Yeah.
Let's see. Alvin says Navy has a couple patents on that technology, and Spill says you have to be a specific vibration or frequency, not sure which. Well, it's vibration frequency is pretty much the same thing there. You operate it, and it's just a different way of expressing it, Spill, so I think you're right on. Says she doesn't think she's seen Contact. Yeah, Alvin says cannot find them now, but I've got the PDF stored on my 6 gigabyte hard drive that I do not have archived or cataloged, so if I find it, I'll send it. I'd be interested to see. Let's see. I don't think. Let's see. I was in no program, said Spill. They paid the cave. Said the cave people told them, Tim.
Oh, okay.
One of the remote, talking about the Dogon tribe, one of the remote viewers actually died during an exorcism by Father Malachi Martin at Fort Bragg. There's a book about it, and they started a movie that was never finished. Army shut it down, says Alan. Interesting. I'm always interested in the Malachi Martin stories. What's that guy's name? He's Leo. No, not Leo Zagami. He's an interesting one too. But I think the guy now, he's like one of the main archbishops in the United States, and he is outspoken against the Church of Rome and the Catholic Church. He's still somehow like a cardinal. Maria Vigano. Some of his letters that he wrote to like President Trump and to the American people and to the the seats of power of the world are pretty insane to think that this guy's this high in the Catholic Church as he is and talking like this. I mean, talking about, all those conspiracies that turned out to be true, and there was a bunch of them about the Vatican too, and a lot of the stuff in like the Godfather, or which was that Godfather? Was that Godfather 3 with all the church in it? And
I saw that one actually.
Well, there's a lot of movies where this stuff came out in The Exorcist, a lot of this stuff that came out of these old conspiracy theories and stuff, and apparently Maria Vigana has read all of it, and he's studied at the Vatican, and he's well connected, and anyway, if you get a chance to read some of his letters, check it out. We might talk about it a little bit later. Yeah, they go meditate in the caves, and the answers should come to them, says Spill about the Dogon. Can't do bread and pasta much. I can. But
so hungry the whole time.
Yeah, I can eat a lot of bread. I have to eat a lot of it, though. I mean, I eat bread.
I'm a dummy, though. I go everywhere and try to get a hamburger. And you know where they make a good hamburger?
US.
Nowhere. Just, I swear to God. When in Rome, fuckers. Just eat when in Rome. Don't try the hamburger. I'm stupid. I still remember... I got a hamburger once. I don't remember what it was. I was so hungry, and I swear to God, it was called an American hamburger. Yes, it was a fucking warmed up bagel with a plank of sausage and 40 God this big on it. I almost cried. Ashley's eating this bowl of gnocchi, so I had to be Italy. Just beautiful pasta. And dumb me here's trying to chew a hockey puck. I was so sad that day.
You should have ordered a hot hamburger sandwich. You might have got a better one.
I didn't learn my lesson. I never do. I go, your hamburger, please. I'm like fucking wimpy going ordering a hamburger.
So something interesting about the Project Looking Glass is apparently the biases of the operator would have a direct effect on the images they collected. So if somebody was to look back in time at Jesus' crucifixion and they didn't believe in Jesus, they may not see anything.
Would that alter it, though, with the observer effect?
Well, I don't know, but apparently if they were a Christian, then they may see the crucifixion event. And apparently this suggests a space-time mechanic where the user actually has the ability to travel within their own mind, and the human mind is the key to time travel.
Okay,
is what this suggests, and the work of Dewey B. Larson and his reciprocal systems theory provides the basis for this interpretation. According to this, briefly, as described by Larson, the universe is broken up into two physical regions, as defined by motion: the hypersurface of the present. We got space. And then we got time basically going the other way. The past light cone and the future light cone.
Oh, the light cone. I'm glad. Is that sorry. Is that gospel?
Well,
The light cone.
It's like you got so much. You can only see so much light from the past, and you can only have so much light from the future. I mean, so you're everything you're emitting is like basically a light going into the past, and everything in front of you is a light coming towards you. You're emitting. You know what I'm saying? So all your.
It's a TV show then.
Well, it could be. All of our past actions, we have left.
I thought it was listening.
Energy behind us, and we're moving towards energy in front of us. Below the speed of light, motion operates in 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. Above the speed of light, motion operates in 1 dimension of space and 3 dimensions of time. As bizarre as that sounds, the mind is uniquely equipped to navigate in time, which is able to access memories of the past, gain awareness of events in the present, conceive of future possibilities, and even imagine alternative events that did not actually happen. In other words, the human mind can select a point of focus, just like in remote viewing, and receive information from the store of memories made during the experiments. If a mind is properly trained, it can be used to access non-experiential data in the same way one can recall a memory. That would be remote viewing.
Okay.
Basically, it's like everything you remember, you can access that memory. Well, there's also a place where other people can access your memories.
So is that
what,
the Akashic record, you think?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
I was like to say I'm screwed.
Yeah, if people can access your memories.
Access the memory, it's like
As long as it's something ridiculous that I don't need, like a car commercial from Bachwood Bernard Honda or something, I'm good.
Yeah.
Who's got a Honda? Beep. Anyway, I won't do that to y'all again, because car commercials are from the devil. They get drilled in your head no matter how old they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point.
Sometimes, like we're saying, like my brain works like a quantum computer, and the other time it's a Pentium 133 that's on its last leg.
Depends on what you're interested in.
The Looking Glass device seems to be capable of the same type of process of accessing a data stream for any conceivable location in space or time steered by the consciousness of an operator. And so they tried also to film this take a camera into this thing and see what the person was doing, but evidently it doesn't work because the device is actually staying in the same place. So even if you were to, even if you were to look to the future, that device to physically travel to the future, that device is actually staying in the place. So it doesn't seem that there is actual physical travel happening, but that you're able to basically open a place where you can look through. And I'm sure they're trying to find a way to physically travel through it via the Stargate. That's what the movie's all about, and that's why the movie was named that, is it was named after the real program. But apparently there was there's a whole other. I mean, you'll just have to read this yourself because this is a really long article, and we're not going to go into the whole thing. But I shared it in the description. If you're interested in it, there's a lot of information here. Like I said, it's basically everything I could find on the Looking Glass, packed into one article, with lots of visualizations and. This is one example of what this may be. Electromagnets around a person, basically creating different magnetic fields interacting with one another too.
Would it do anything to you? Because we're not really magnetic, right?
Well, we are. We have a magnetic field. Human beings have a magnetic field that comes out their top and bottom, just like the Earth does.
Like a pooper.
Yep.
Out my root chakra.
Yep.
Shove it up your root chakra, asshole. So with all these is it based on magnets or what? What do they say? Or is it some kind of men who stare at goats technology where you can only see inside of a person's brain?
Well, like I said, this apparently these magnets in this gas field is supposed to alter, basically allow you already have the ability, right, to see this, but this apparently allows you to focus it using the machine. You use your brain to control the machine, and you can focus it more clearly and have a higher confidence. And it talks about here, I think about an 81% confidence that the events that you see, as long as you are aware of your biases and stuff like that, would be accurate. But again, this is all based on people who are alleged whistleblowers, and this guy's. I mean, there's interviews of them, but do you believe they're real? I don't know. This was from September 2002. Dan Burrish, he's one of the Looking Glass whistleblowers, alleged whistleblowers, and Bill Hamilton is the other ones. And aside from some other references here and there, they're pretty much all we have that are they at least claim to be. In an interview with him is in here, and see, it's really long, so we're not going to read all that. But if you start, apparently there's natural stargates too. That's one other thing they get into, and apparently there's some people trying to access these natural stargates and control all them and close them off via you think the Dark Tower. That's pretty much kind of the same thing. And now we're going to go back into the old school Welcome to the Orion lines.
I swear that said onion lines.
Old school internet right here. I love this stuff. It's so cozy.
What was the name of the giant guy in Marvel that ate planets that they also spoofed on an episode of The Tick?
I don't know.
He would literally eat the world like an apple. Silver Surfer came to fighting. Galactus. For some reason, when you started talking about stargates, I still was thinking of magnetism and how we are magnets and root chakras. For some reason, it popped in my head that there would probably be a stargate on the root chakra of Galactus with all them planets he's eating. Is this the anatomy of the white rabbit? That's pretty,
this is a little bit of anatomy of everything. So here we got. This is Alice's floor, area S4.
Alrighty.
And pretty sure that's known as, that's the real Area 51. What we think of as Area 51, isn't that S4? The real Area 51 isn't that just like a military flight testing area, but the real thing that people describe as Area 51 is actually S4.
I know pretty sure S4 is the one that Bob Lazar claimed to work at.
Okay, yeah, that's...
But I don't know the specifications.
That's basically what it is, then, if that's the one Bob Lazar. So that's, allegedly, I'm just taking his word at it, that, there's other people say it too, but S4 is the real Area 51. And apparently Alice's floor is what this was called, is the destination point and then the departure point. They used an Einstein-Rosen bridge jump pads. They had those up there based on this technology. So according to this guy, they've advanced that. And if that technology really was out there, the Looking Glass, I couldn't imagine that they wouldn't be working to try to make it where they could travel physically.
Go down a little bit more. It says, a stuffed Alice in Wonderland rabbit is permanently mounted above the entrance to the Project Looking Glass room.
Interesting.
Prove it.
Project Sightglass. Here's the tall rabbit above the
An
door.
eyeball. Yeah.
Right here. This is the looking glass, the primary device right here.
So talk of the technodrome.
Yeah.
This looks like the pyramid chamber, doesn't it? Look here. Blow off chamber. I mean, what if the pyramid was really a place to house their looking glass
Yeah,
device?
that's what it was. The pyramids are actually time.
And they are aiming at Orion. The pyramids are.
Something, yeah.
The origin of the P-52 Orions. Those are man-made stargates were reverse engineered from mirror image Sumerian cylinder seals.
I'm gonna put my hand right here. I'm gonna put this lighter right here. Ask me about Constantine whenever there's a lull.
Okay.
So I'm trying to connect things that are interesting but not necessary.
Okay, here's a close-up view of the device.
It's like an outdoor fire. Nice
Looking glass front view. So there's the argon gas tank, electromagnetic field supporting arches, electric motors. They rotate this shaft, which I guess creates the magnetic field. Tesla egg housing. I'm not sure what that is.
Tesla egg and rotating shafts.
Yeah, buddy. And here we got from this feller. I don't know who Jay Fingus is, but
It's a good name.
I like his name.
He's got a map. Let's get hold of him.
The Pentagon believes its precognitive AI can predict events days in advance. And that's from 2021. Imagine they had that. And here's the letter that shall not be named. Their Project Looking Glass going forward in order to look back, says that heretic letter. And you go on down here. I shared this in the description. This guy has
That guy.
he has all kinds of this stuff collected in one place, so definitely check out his website. It's in the description. You'll love it.
The guy you just passed looked like
That's the inventor of the Learjet, John Lear.
John Lear. He looks like Count Dante.
Let's see what. It's 16 minutes long. We can't watch that.
Count
right now.
Dante is my spirit animal.
Count Dante. I don't know who that is.
We could do an episode on him and the CIA because I think that was a whole CIA program, but I can never prove it, obviously. It connects to Bloodsport and modern day time.
Doesn't everything?
Everything does.
The Timeline Advanced Declaration. I wonder who made this. Let's look at this here. Timeline is hereby outlawed for personal use. You cannot travel time to past or present to alter the timeline for personal advantage. The time travel is only allowed for moment to moment, meaning if you wanted to leave home and go to, say, Mars, you could leave in this moment and arrive only in this moment, not 1 second before, not 1 second after. You can only time travel in the now, so the timeline is not affected or altered. Now, apparently these people are,
What the hell?
yeah.
I hereby end the war on drugs and legalize everything.
Especially cucumbers. Cucumber trichosanthus kilrilawi. I don't know what this is.
It's
Yeah.
peyote, I think. If I'm not, maybe. I'm not
That
getting
symbol, I mean, I'm
wrong.
sure it means something else, but
What is it?
the brand of skateboard bearings called Reds, that symbol.
I've seen that in something else too.
I'm sure it means something completely different, but I was like, hey, that's the Red Skates, the bearing symbol that everyone liked.
Okay, so definitely go check out this guy Orion Lines. It's a lot of fun if you like old school crazy conspiracy stuff. I don't know, he might he's got a lot of really neat stuff collected here. So, whether you want to take everything for what it is, or whether you want to be skeptical
encourage
about
you
it,
to believe
it's
every
still
bit of it
it's still interesting.
Indiscriminately.
I think it's a lot of fun to look at. Well, look here. You're in for a very, very big surprise. It's all an alien spacecraft.
What is?
These
The Earth?
these things here, these golden spheres. See, we've got them at the Vatican, at the UN, and at Ground Zero. And then I don't know where this comes from. That looks like somebody's put that face on an old painting, but Jesus is standing on that sphere. So yeah, go check out Orion Line. It's a lot of fun. He's got a really big website with a lot of information collected. Got a link in the description. Before we get out of here, let's talk about from by the waters of Possum Creek here. This is what?
Possum.
Opossum?
It's supposed to be opossum, and there's no O.
Well, we don't say opossum around here.
But there's no O. It's still spelled that. Well, it's still spelled that way.
Well, we say possum.
Well, just because we're a hayseed doesn't mean we can't write correctly.
Have you seen the street Possum Holler?
Yeah,
Does it have an O?
should.
It doesn't.
It should though. My grandma lived up Possum Holler, and it should have an O.
Now, if you go to other places in the country, I've been to other places in the country and seen Opossum Hollow.
Yeah. There's no one there. I'm telling you.
I think that was in, where was Opossum Hollow? That one may have been in Georgia. But you'd think they'd have a possum holler in Georgia. No, South Carolina. You'd think they'd have a possum holler in South Carolina too. But this is talking about the disappearing town of Morrison City. If I can get it to pull up here. There we go. And apparently it's a small village to the north of Kingsport, which was built in the 1930s and 40s as a bedroom community to the industrial town to its south. So it's kind of like here in Elizabethton where they, built up when the Bimberg and North American Rayon, or for the Glansdorf America Corporation, it was called back then. They built all those little houses.
Piano strings is still there miraculously, but the chair factory, they took over a chair factory actually.
Yeah. Well, they built all those little houses. Like the town was basically built so people would have and there weren't many people around here living down here, but then when those factories came in, it basically boomed because they built up East Side and they built up Black Bottom for the factory workers.
G Street too.
Yeah.
There's houses.
Well, then if you look on G Street, those are the nicer houses, the nicer old brick houses.
Well, except there's these little like Mexican.
Yeah. There's the stucco houses.
Yeah, there's stucco houses. There's like 2 or 3 of those neighborhoods.
Yeah, so they built those to be basically to where they tried to make the people who were living in them as comfortable as they could. So the guys who were used to living in stucco houses, they wanted to build them stucco houses. And
it's too gooey here for those though, because they don't.
Yeah, a lot of
there's no way for the moisture to get out. So all those houses that have those.
A lot of them are falling apart.
Well, I know some guys that used to live in one. Got rented one. My wife's parents still own one. Like, because Tennessee is so moist in this area, as the humidity gets real hot, and so you can literally see the water coming down the wall and going in the window because there's nowhere for the moisture to go. You got little cracks here and stuff, so the air can move around, and they don't have those. So it's just a bad idea for the climate.
Yeah. Well, they also, if you notice right up there near G Street, back up there in the German area, the German houses were all really nice and bigger. And, I imagine that those guys were the German style houses. I imagine that those guys were like the plant managers and stuff like that for these German owned corporations here in Elizabethton. And there was actually, they used to live in an apartment over off of G Street on Watauga Avenue near Ivy Hall. And that used to be, it was made into a 4-apartment building, one building with 4 apartments in it. But it originally was a very large house. And our landlord had pictures of it in the 30s, and there was German Americans here who were like Hitler fans. And they had, this was in the 30s before he started killing everybody, of course. But, a lot of people in America were big fans of Hitler at the time. And apparently, so these Germans in Elizabethton, and there was a lot of them, because they ran all the industry, they were apparently Hitler supporters and stuff. And but anyway, my landlord had a picture of that building. Anyway, this...
we talked about Hitler earlier, but I'm going to have to do the lighter thing again to remind
the
myself.
H-man.
Well, I'm just confused by that name. Like, no one's, like, for example, if you talk about a serial killer and you don't just say Bundy, because somebody might think you're talking about Al Bundy from Married with Children. Yeah. Like, there's no other Hitlers. There's no other Hitler out there, so that just makes me wonder, did everybody in Germany just collectively go, oh, dear God, my last name is now Heimler?
Yeah.
And did all the German people out there just collectively decide
we're going to be Hyatt
their last name doesn't exist?
Yeah, or? Probably. Yeah, there was a weather personality or somebody that got submitted. They had a cat picture of the day, and somebody submitted their little cat, and he had a little short mustache.
Kittler.
His name was Kittler, and she read it on the air, and she did an apology the next day. She didn't realize that what she was saying.
Do you think as time goes on, do you think people that were related or are related to Hitler will start changing their name back?
Probably.
Yeah.
To be edgelords.
Well, yeah, first to be edgelords, and then to kind of like, I don't know.
I'm taking it back. I'm owning it.
Every other group of people's had people kill people or something.
Yeah. Well, Morrison was, like I said, it was just north of Kingsport at the time, and we got some old pictures here. Smith H. Morrison, he's the guy that the town's named after.
God, what was that?
And there's him and his ugly old wife there. No, I'm just kidding.
With chemicals.
She's pretty. Look at him there. They got a town named after him, of course it's no longer there. Look at that family Bible.
He's holding like a Necronomicon.
Look how ornate that family Bible
with a
is.
fucking metal key like on the Mummy.
Yeah. That's probably what he's got right here. That's not his watch. That's his Bible key.
What is this word above? What does this
Holy
say?
Holy Bible.
Does it really say Bible? That isn't.
Yeah.
It's BEASE.
It says Holy Bible.
That says horse H. No, I can't see. Go ahead. It says Holy Bible.
I'm guessing it does. That's what I imagine it says.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like.
from here it looks like it says Heresy Benson.
Looks like it says Hornbill or
There you
horn bleach.
What kind of photograph is this? Just like is just how bad photographs were back
Oh
then?
yeah, that was in the 1880s.
Just awful.
Yeah.
They had to sit there for an hour and a half. to get
Yeah,
that.
probably. They probably did.
No, don't move.
Sat by the waters of Possum Creek for a while. Yeah, that was I think it was in the 1880s. Let's see. Apparently this community was called the Flatwoods before then, and then when Morrison, they founded the town there, it was also called Bell Ridge, and they had a school on it there. And this is the crossroads of Carter's Valley and the Gate City to Kingsport Highway. So right there at the edge of Kingsport on the where you go into Bristol
It was Bell
or
Ridge,
into
is it Bell
Virginia.
Ridge? By chance?
No,
No.
that's in Adams, Tennessee.
Okay, gotcha.
Here's Morrison Chapel, a photo of it in the 1880s. That's a little bit better photo, isn't it?
Probably a lot better.
Oh, look at these
Outside, it's
people.
better lighting.
People are kind of dandy looking. All right, I'm gonna call them dandies.
Oh, they can't see it. Sorry,
Look
folks.
how fancy they look with their slender faces and crossed legs.
Yeah, remember everybody used to get dressed up for church in their Sunday best, and that was the only nice clothes they had. And you'd wear your
Is this a map?
shitty old work clothes the rest of the time and probably bathe before church, and that's probably the only time you bathed. Yeah, I think it is a map. It looks like it.
Like a map of the area that they're living in or something?
Probably.
It's got eyes. Like a doll's eyes.
I guess that would be the Virginia and Tennessee line right there.
Yep.
And then, yeah,
Look how dark that one kid
that's
is.
probably
up there.
Gate City or something right there.
Why did he get so contrasted as far as...
Maybe
I guess
he's
he was
a
a darker
Melungeon,
area.
maybe. He does have more olive skin, though.
Well, that barn looked like shit even back then. So there you go.
Boy, they didn't, that was the church, probably. They didn't take too much.
You kidding? That
Care
church
in
is
it,
probably
did
made
they?
out of ivory or some weird crap. That's the. I'm not into the mud flood community as far as like believing it, but it is really weird to me that like the very first thing they do is build a building that just wastes all the resources.
Now, this was after the Civil War. They started really trying to make money in the valley, so they started a logging operation. And this is a crew of the loggers from
Look at that
There.
big old mustache.
Look at these guys. Even their work clothes, they look better than most of us today.
I resent that. Look at that little rice paddy hat. That's fun.
And these pipes.
They're just proud of the fact that they got pipes. They're like, I got money for a pipe.
This guy looked like he got hit in the head with a log too hard.
He does, doesn't he?
He's cross-eyed now.
All around, he's got rickets. This guy don't want to be there.
He's got a little dog there, don't
He
he?
does. That's a goat.
I think it's a little dog.
It's a dog.
Is it? Well, yeah, there's a dog, Peter.
There's
That's
a,
it.
there's a tail. I don't think that's a Peter.
No,
I'm just kidding.
It's got a red rocket.
that's a Peter.
Oh, boy.
Take your cursor and show the crowd where the Peter is. There you go. Just so we know. Now let's point at one of the human beings' Peters, just so we show that we're
A
inclusive.
reference.
Is that a laurel tree behind them?
Have y'all ever heard gnats called dog pecker gnats? Isn't that the best description for a gnat?
Why is it because they land on dogs' peckers?
Yeah.
Because they do that.
They,
I just thought that was...
they land on a lot of things, but why is dog pecker the one thing that you'd call them?
That's true.
They'll go in your eyes,
Those
too.
happens, they also like water quite a bit too.
Here's this place didn't make it much longer, but here it is in the Morrison City in the 50s. And
That's Mercury, yeah.
they had pretty shitty cameras in the 50s in this area apparently too, because you were getting into some decent color photography by then.
Because this is like the
Yeah.
shit in it.
Yeah. Well, he's no Ansel Adams, but glad we still got that for the record.
He's a photographer.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Arthur Ashe, the damn tennis player. I got him mixed up. What's tennis got to do with it?
WD Sensabaugh store. Now remember Sensabaugh Tunnel?
Tunnel, huh.
Yep. Hersey's hardware store.
It's the same fella. Sensible area. It's named after that fella.
Yep.
Now, I will tell you that a very religious individual that would not tell ghost stories, doesn't believe in any of that, is a very Bible thumping individual, says he saw a ghost in
Morrison
Sensible
City
Tunnel.
Grocery. Now there was the rumor that, well, nobody really knows, but there was the idea that old man Sensible actually made up the stories of the ghosts to keep people off his property.
What kind of Scooby-Doo bullshit's that?
Yeah. Hey,
I
here's
got away with it because I'm dead and you guys still think there's a ghost.
here's the Bell Ridge School. They did a lot better than that on that than they did the church building. Well, because glass was expensive and you couldn't just get some.
Don't take a picture right there. Cover it up with some paper.
Well, that just tells you how expensive glass was because they couldn't even get it fixed. Is that Jonathan Norris?
Traveling son of a bitch. One kid's rocking a pretty good Zach Morris cut.
It's probably got a cell phone.
Too.
Look here, what is going on here? This girl can't stand still apparently because this lady's holding her in place. Look at her.
She looks wild, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Look, Dustin. It's the kid on looks like the kid from King of the Hill. Your dad blew up.
Dooley. Your dad lost his job. These are some wild-looking kids. I bet they all had 8.
Really, you're like, well, there's a lot of those hairstyles that's still around
Do you
today.
think about that?
Nowadays they would have fed them. Nowadays they would have fed them Ritalin.
Like, do you think about that? That's just you?
Killed their spirit.
That's just the same thing as us. And
It is. It's exactly the same thing as us. That's the whole reason I'm loving pointing it out. Because this place is no longer there. Morrison City has moved on. It's gone. And it was people just like us.
But what is it now? What's it called now?
It's gone.
But is it Kingsport?
It's just part of Sullivan County now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Kind of like Turkeytown unincorporated?
Yeah, except Turkeytown still is like...
There's no signs left to show that
Morrison's been gone. It's been gone since the 70s.
Well, they deserve to fail then.
Yeah,
That's fine.
well, I mean, pretty much everybody there just moved out and went somewhere else. They went to Kingsport, and they bought the property up for US 23, and that's what turns into 26. So right there where 23, where 26 ends, and you just keep going until you go on into Virginia through where that UFO video is. You know that looks like kind of the next place that might go the way of Morrison City. That's what if you drive up through there, a lot of kind of slower business compared to the rest of Kingsport especially, but you see a lot of buildings that look pretty old and had no business going on in them for a long time as you got through there. So that's pretty much what happened here until they eventually sold the land to the state and then or sold the land to the federal government.
Look, God, I'm sorry. Look, no grass. Again, look at this building. A building full of people and no fucking grass. I'm sorry, there's no grass in these old pictures. This is my conspiracy. It's the only conspiracy I'm going to stick true to. Grass was invented in like 1966. There's no grass. Why is every picture from the 50s and back just mud everywhere you can look, no matter what you take a picture of?
Well, probably one is a lot better agriculture and a lot better irrigation and a lot better climate than what we had then. I mean, they had a lot more droughts. I mean, just think about how many. Remember when we were kids, we used to have droughts regularly.
Well, yeah.
We haven't really had that drought in a long time, have we?
But we did, like, what are they doing? Throwing mud balls at the side of the board? Why is it so dirty?
So they don't have a pressure washer. And there's water. I mean, there's wind blowing this dust everywhere against the school, and then when it rains, it just sticks there. Yeah. Yeah, it was just shitty, Tim.
I'm a musician, folks. I'm not clean. I'm not going to sit here on some high horse. I'm hygienic. I have all my teeth. I have no cavities. I'm not saying that I don't regularly bathe. I'm suggesting that as a musician, that I might skip a day, or maybe I might stay in the basement all hunched over and go full Smeagol for a week, creating some thing that'll never be heard by the ears of man. But, like, I don't understand, like, when did people suddenly... Why, there's no grass. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it seems like you go to pictures of ancient Mexico or Mesopotamia, and they've got streets where the entrance of the said building is here, and it comes out, and it's understood that you don't walk on this area of sand. Let's at least leave this sand here, or this... There's no... How did we like colonize America if we don't even have the concept of sidewalks in Morrison, Tennessee, pre-Kingsport? I'm just saying, like, there's a lot about the past that really baffles me with these pictures, and it's not the questions other people are answering.
Well, that's why Morrison, Tennessee is no longer there.
I guess.
And now we have Kingsport with sidewalks. So great job, Tim. Thanks a lot.
Fucking just mud and no grass in L.A. too. If you
Now we've got the great big city of Eastman that stretches as far as the eye can see in Kingsport, and instead, so much better, huh?
There's no mud. I mean, people are drinking mud over there with that water. But I'm just saying, there's no grass, man. Grass was invented like 20 years ago or something.
Well, look, man. By the waters of Pawson Creek, Brad Scott is still putting out stuff. Up in 2023. This is from January. The mystery of the origin of Robert Smith of Kingsport, Tennessee. That looks like that one will be a fun one for us to get into. So I think maybe we'll do that, and maybe we can reach out to old Robert Smith and do a little compilation if he'd be interested, because he's got a lot of neat stuff on his site.
In the Cure.
Yeah, he's got a lot of neat stuff on here. This is a huge story with a lot of photographs.
He just really got into it.
Well, I'm saving this stuff. We'll look at it later. But anyway, what do you think about Operation Looking Glass or Project Looking Glass? Let's check in the chat. We've not looked at it in a minute. Let's see. It's alleged that HRC tried to use it, but it wouldn't work. The Looking Glass. They said that she broke it, but maybe it shut it down. They said they broke it, maybe shut it down. Maybe Hillary shut it down.
She didn't have the shine.
Maybe not. She just seems like somebody who wants to have the shine, but no matter how hard she can't. But she's got friends that have the shine, and they're like all around her. But she's more popular, and she's the only one who could ever be president. But nobody will ever elect her, and it just hurts. Her butt's just got to be really
Did you watch
fat.
Dr. Sleep?
Yeah.
Did you?
The whole thing about scaring the kids and stealing their power, i.e. that substance that people, like HRC allegedly ingest.
Just an interesting tie-in to the movie, I thought.
Yeah, that's right.
It actually makes you look back at the original Shining. It makes sense about why. Because, I didn't realize until watching that movie, it made sense to me that his dad, Jack Nicholson, had to possess The Shining too. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to see that stuff from the very beginning. He was just old, and they didn't want him. The house wanted the kid instead.
Exactly.
Which was the same thing the vampire people.
They wanted to use him to get the kid.
Yeah. So.
Spill says possum and opossum are same animal from different areas. Well, there is actually a possum in, I think it's Australia, that is a possum, not an opossum. And
Does it look like it?
No, it's actually very similar to it. It's
opossum then.
Yeah, but it is a possum and not an opossum.
It's not Australia.
It's a separate animal.
Yeah. They don't get to decide. As the governor of Appalachia, I have decided it's opossum. Yeah.
Well, I need to be the governor of China or something, because how in the hell is a red panda a panda?
You can take over China if you want.
A red panda is more like a raccoon.
Yeah, fucking adorable.
How is it the same animal as a white panda? And who is that comedian that's like they do the bit about let's just let the fucking pandas go extinct. Let's just eat them all, because they obviously deserve to go extinct because they won't even fuck each other. Like, we put them together and have to beat them to make them fuck, and then all the babies die anyway. Like, let's just eat these pandas and be done with it. I can't remember who said that. Might have just been.
They are horrible parents.
I do sometimes.
They're a horrible parenting animal.
I do sometimes have stand-up comedian routines in my head that I think are comedians, but it's just me thinking. And
I know that.
I imagine somebody doing it.
Do you know the panda is one of the best evidences that there might be cryptids out there? Because when they first found the Asian countries and the Americans right there, all the Chinese people would be like, yeah, panda. They'd be like, but they couldn't find it. But all the Chinese people that had lived there a long time were like, yeah, it's real. We just never see them. They just never come around. And all the wadis that were going there just started turning it into a myth, because all these explorers kept going looking for this mythical panda. They thought it was like a vampire or something, like some kind of creature. It doesn't really exist. All these yokels believe in it, but it ain't real. And then one day they just happened to stumble upon it. They weren't even hunting it. The dumb thing was just sitting there eating bamboo. They just walked up right on top of it. Was. And that's what Bigfoot's probably doing. He's not hiding. You just can't see him. He just lives underground or something. He's just cranking his shaft.
It's like the white river dolphins of Tibet. Apparently the H man, old Uncle Addy, sent the SS over to
Heimlich?
Tibet. Yes, well, actually, who was the SS? Himmler was the SS leader of the SS, wasn't he? But he apparently sent them over to Tibet to try to capture one of these white river dolphins and kill the rest of them because they were supposed to be.
He was gonna have the only one.
Yeah, they were supposed to be like ancient sorcerers or something they were supposed to be sentient like human beings, but they just lived in the river.
Poor old Adolf had some screwy thoughts though, really, because he really was looking for like ancient artifacts.
Well, yeah, he sent the SS around the world to gather up any knowledge they could of legends, and try to capture all of them and see if any of them were real, like any of them that might be real, we're going to use.
Constantine, Hitler had the Spear of Destiny, a guy in Argentina.
He wanted Thor's hammer. He wanted
all the way back to America, where tying it full circle into Project Looking Glass, they go to Papa Midnight to use an electric chair, where he says so many souls of people that died through it that if you get electrocuted in this thing using black magic, you can bend time and look through it. Yeah. So there's a seat where people can see the future.
And I think that Hellboy may have been based on that technology. The story of Hellboy may have been based on that technology. So there you go. We just keep coming back around. If you remember the big machine at the beginning of the first one where they actually pulled Hellboy through. I actually didn't care much for the movies, but I did like the introduction, the beginning of the movie.
The newer one. I heard
it was horrible.
I heard it was executed poorly.
Didn't even bother with it.
I liked the idea of Hellboy, and I liked the beginning of the movie, but it just lost me really quick, and I couldn't hang in there. I didn't find it very interesting after the initial scene where they go to open up the gateway and then Hellboy's introduced. I'm like, don't care. Sasquatch is seen when they want to be seen, says Spill. Everything seems dirty though. Yeah, back then you're right. It does. It was. Well, they didn't have soap and water like we do nowadays. They didn't have water popped through the ground and soap. They had lye soap that they had to make that took hours and was caustic and
it didn't rain there. Why did the building dirty? There's mud everywhere, but there's dirt on the.
because the dirt gets blown on the building and then the rain gets blown.
It don't look right. It really. I don't have the intelligence to tell you why, or the English to string it together in a way that I can communicate it correctly. But like Wittgenstein said, maybe words just aren't good enough to get truth across. Something about old pictures really don't seem right to me a lot.
Sasquatch is seen when want to be seen. Everybody go watch Primal Rage.
The game?
No, it's a movie about Sasquatch. It's a slasher flick.
On you?
Yeah, it's a slasher flick with Sasquatch.
Right.
It's pretty fun.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, this is one that came out probably like 18, 19, something like that.
What do you think about the idea?
Well, I had a lot of fun with it.
That the Earth is actually just a giant spaceship.
Fact check, true.
But it's on a mission somewhere, and we're just oblivious. We think this is how solar systems work, but the whole solar system is actually just a giant spaceship that's twirling its way through there.
Well, I'll tell you, if you think about it in that
we're
terms,
just particles.
If you think about it in that terms, it's something like a Project Looking Glass. It would have to go through the human mind, because if you were trying to, you think about the fact that the Earth is going around the sun at the speed it is, and then the sun is going around the center of the Milky Way at the speed it is, and the Milky Way is moving through space on its own. To be able to calculate where exactly in space-time the Earth was, thousands of years ago or whatever, that's pretty much beyond the capability of anything we have. Because we don't know how far apart things are. We say, the universe is drifting, everything's farther apart. It'd be impossible to calculate something, based on if you had the plane of space-time or the ether or whatever it is.
If you transcend space-time, I guess it wouldn't matter anymore, because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the whole point, is it has to transcend space and time, because there's no way you could plot accurately a point within space-time of where you were, say, 20 years ago even.
Yes.
Because the whole universe is expanding. All the fabric of space-time is expanding. It's just not... So it would have to be a metaphysical connection that would make that possible. So yeah, with all that, who really knows? But it's interesting to think about, and there's definitely people who are spending a lot of time thinking about it somewhere out there, and spending a lot of time working on these projects. And it's fun for us to talk about them. We may never know the truth, but I like to see what y'all think, and I like to talk about it. So I have a lot of fun.
that's what's causing the Mandela effect, is the observer effect. Because just like in physics, anytime you look at something, I know conspiracy people have heard this mentioned probably to the point where nauseous, but just in case you haven't, electrons fired through a thingy have a random pattern, but as soon as you try to actually measure where they're going to go, suddenly they go exactly where you expect them to go. It doesn't do the way it's supposed to. Observer effect. It works in psychology too, where once you start observing people's behavior, it just
Changes the outcome.
changes it. It really does. You can watch it, and it changes the way people behave, especially if they know that there's a psychological program.
Yeah, it's not only a
going on.
physical effect; it's a psychological effect too.
And so I'm just wondering how much of, well, I'm not really wondering, positing through this theory that what if they're using the looking glass, and by looking into the future, it messes up some things, sort of like butterfly effect.
It could be.
I can be full of shit too.
No, I think it would have to. I think it would have to. That checks out.
Feels real
I
plausible.
don't know if it checks out or not. It sounds good to a channel like this.
It does. Well, listen, Dustin's got to work early in the morning. Let's get the hell out of here, y'all. It's almost midnight. Appreciate y'all sticking with us. If you haven't already, like the video, share this with somebody that you think might enjoy it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Definitely go out and check us out on Rumble, and go back and watch some of the old videos. Check out his musical projects, Decade of Deceit and Aether Weaver, both on Spotify, YouTube, everywhere you can find it. We've got the artist known as Tim. And
Ronnie, I think.
he's going to be the artist known as Ronnie. Okay, so T-A-K-A-T or T-A-K-A-R.
Takar. That sounds more Stony Creek.
Yeah, the spill says I think it is, and we are like cells in our bodies. Hey, that's good. That's good.
And also check out the Pillbillies.
Yes, that's right. Me and Dustin did a project, Corned Beef and the Pillbillies, and who knows, we may do a little reunion tour at some point. But for right now, go out and check out those projects, and everybody have a good night. And
Always remember, shake your nuts.
that's right, jiggle those nuts. Later, y'all. Have a good night. See you Wednesday, 10 p.m.